Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Okay, so a cowboy goes into a bar in Gallup, New Mexico, and he orders 3 mugs of beer. He sits in the back room, and he starts drinking 1 sip out of each of the 3 glasses. The 3 mugs are now empty. He goes to the bartender, and he orders 3 more mugs of beer. He comes in every evening, orders 3 beers, sits in the back room, drinks them 1 sip out of each glass a time. And so the bartender, he starts to get curious, and he says one day to the cowboy, he's like, beer goes flat pretty quickly. Well, if you just want to order 3 beers, I'll bring them back to you one at a time. He's like, no, my brother and I made an agreement when I left. And so we drink with each other every night. So I take 1 sip for me, 1 for my brother in Flagstaff, and 1 for my brother in Farmington. And that's how we do it. And he's like, that's just a really cool tradition. Gives him his 3 beers, and off he goes to the back room. So one time, the cowboy comes in on a Monday, and he orders 2 beers. Goes to the back room. And so he comes up to the bar to order the second round of beers, and he orders 2 beers. And the bartender says, I don't want to intrude on you at all, but I do want to give you my condolences. He's like, look, he's got this puzzled look on his face. He's like, oh no, my brothers are fine. My wife made me become a Baptist yesterday. I had to quit drinking, but my brothers, they're still good. So, today we were going to talk about love thy neighbor. But here's the thing. I realized we're all neighbors, right? We are. We're all neighbors. We're all one. We're all unique, individualized expressions of that one. And we are all neighbors. So we should just love everybody. But there's also communities that we're part of. We're part of this loving community. We're part of a loving community of family. We've got friends. We've got our tribes, right? We've got our people. And the one thing I know is that if it's all based in love, there are some people that we just love a little better, right? I don't know why. But they tend to resonate with us. It's those people, it's like we want company and we want companionship. But we want company and companionship with our people. Those people that we resonate with. Those people whom we share values and interests. Those people that we can be like our authentic, raw selves around without worrying about it. Where we can share our joys, but also share our sorrows with equal love and respect. A community where not only are we loved and honored, but we have the opportunity to love and honor each other. We crave a community where there's hopes and there's dreams that are being empowered because people want to see us make good on those hopes and dreams. A community where we have the opportunity to be supported and empowered and celebrate with others. Just to celebrate. So, do we have communities like that? I mean, if we don't, this is one, right? And it's time for us to start our own tribes, to create those types of communities here and beyond. And it's always an inside job. It starts with each of us being willing to be authentic. and to be vulnerable and to empower others, right? To not just be me focused, but to be focusing on saying yes to other people. We're going to do, after fellowship today, we're going to do a quick little extra shot, and part of that's going to be a guided visualization about that kind of a community, right? Where we just get to say yes to all of it. So there's that familiar Bible phrase from Matthew, wherever two or more are gathered in my name, I am there amongst them, right? Gathered in my name. It means gathered in my nature. And what was Jesus' nature but love? I'm not talking wear it on your sleeve love, right? I'm talking that love that you felt when you came into this room, right? It is that love, you're going to take a little bit of that with you when you leave, but you're going to leave a little bit of it here. And the seniors that meet here on Monday morning, they're going to come in and they're going to feel that love. Because you always take a little with you and you leave a little behind. And why do we love it when we gather in Jesus' nature, in that nature of love? Well, because it allows us to consciously bring out the I am. The I am that I am. It allows us to consciously suit up and show up in our real divine nature of love. And to share that love. And to ask to receive more of it. Because there are times when we are full of joy. There are times when we are full of fear. There are times when we suit up and show up here after crying ourselves to sleep at night. Because it's all perfect, which doesn't mean it always feels perfect, as Sue shared. There's blessings and there's gifts even in the pain and the sorrow and the hurt. And sometimes when we share with others our pain and our sorrow and our hurt, not only do we get to feel a little better, but they get the blessing. They get the blessing of honoring that about us. Because if you're going to honor someone, you need to honor all of them. Not just the cheerful one, right? But also the one that's hurting. And we do that through love, because love lightens every single load. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote, "Love is the only final security in the universe. Love is the greatest healing power in the universe, and it is the only thing that binds people together in a community of spirit." Dennis Merritt Jones, a retired minister in religious science, wrote, "I believe there is something within each of us that is aching for authentic spiritual connection, to actually know what God's presence feels like. Spiritual community is where this happens. Why? Because it creates an environment where everyone feels commonly and equally embraced by the loving presence of God. It magnifies the experience. Each one actually becomes the reflector of the other, magnifying God's magnificence and love." That's why we gather here. We gather here from that place of not just love thy neighbor, but love thyself. And honor thyself. And love and honor all others. And this is the perfect place to try it out. Because I like to talk about this community as based in love, but crowned in grace. In pure grace. So, when we look at our tribes, when we look at our communities, that we're part of, our whatever you want to call your little group or your large group. You suit up and show up as being spiritually driven. And I know that because you're here today. Because if you're aware of your spiritual magnificence, the I am that I am. And have you noticed that in those groups, in those tribes, you have a feeling of comfort, that people tend to gravitate towards you a little bit? It's that spiritual essence that you're calling forth in others because you've courted it yourself with your spiritual practice. And that is how we change the world. We change the world with having a spiritual practice that allows us to not only court, but recognize and honor that wonderful intelligence within us, that wonderful spiritual light. And when we do that and we take it out into the world, especially out into our communities, we raise it all up. We just raise the vibration in a room up. What a blessing that is for us to be able to do. So this morning, I'd like to share with you the lessons that we can learn from geese. That was in Chicken Soup for the Soul, the second helping. And I invite you to look at how you're showing up in your tribe and in your community based on these lessons, okay? So we all know that geese fly in a V shape, right? And we've started to see that here in Minnesota. Sorry as I am to say it. But they fly in a V shape. So science has discovered that each bird flaps its wings from the V formation, and it creates an uplift for the bird behind it. And let's see here. There's a percentage here. The whole flock adds at least 71% greater flying range than if they flew on their own. 71%, that's like a big number, especially if you've got to go all the way south. So, our lesson, people who share a common direction, a sense of community, can get where they are going more quickly and easily because they're traveling on the thrust of others. So, where are you flying solo? Where are you flying solo? Where is your ego sort of edging God out? Because it can be very exhausting doing it alone. And you don't get near as far as fast. If you are flying solo, now's a good time to ask, why? What is preventing you from fully participating? Lesson number 2. When a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and the resistance of flying alone. And it moves quickly back into formation to take advantage of the uplift. So, if we had the sense of a goose, we would stay in formation with those ahead of us, with those people who are where we want to go, right? We hang out with people who are going where we want to go, who have already gone where we want to go. And we become willing to accept their help as we help others along the way, because there's a common direction. So again, are you showing up in your tribe, in your community, fully participating? Willing to stay on that path in formation, so to speak? Are you willing? Are you willing to suit up and show up, even when you don't really feel like suiting up and showing up? Lesson number 3. When a goose gets tired, it rotates itself in the back. It moves back to the back of the V and lets another goose fly point. Our lesson, it's sensible to take turns doing demanding jobs. It's also important to let other people do what other people can do. When you show up, are you balanced in your giving and in your receiving? Because balance is important. Because if you're always giving, at some point, there's not only burnout, but there's also resentment that shows up. And why waste our energy on resentment? I shared earlier in the month, a genuine no is so much more important and loving than a dishonest yes. Are you giving anyone a dishonest yes? Because you're not doing yourself or them any favors. Everyone's got skills. Everyone's got talent. Who are we to think we can do it better than anybody else? And then on the other hand, are there places where you just suit up and show up to receive? You're just taking the love in, taking the support in, but not willing to give any of it back. That's just as hard. Okay, lesson number 4. Geese honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep moving. So, do you honk words of encouragement wherever you go to support those people that you're in community with? To support what they do? And do we do it with enthusiasm? Enthos. God within. Are we doing it from that place of our spiritual magnificence, truly meaning those wonderful things that we're saying, those words of support? Do we appreciate and acknowledge people before they even ask for it, before they start even looking for it? I would take a moment and enthusiastically welcome all of you here. Because without all of you, none of us would be feeling the amount of love we're feeling right now. The amount of lightness is all because we're here together in our divine essence. Okay, lesson number 5. Final lesson. When a goose gets sick or wounded, it falls out of formation, and 2 other geese follow it down. And they stay with that fallen goose until it's either ready to fly again or until it dies. And only then do they launch out on their own, either starting their own formation or join another formation. Our lesson. If we have the sense of a goose, we will stand by each other just like that. This is a trying time for a lot of people. And I really want to acknowledge that because we're coming into the holiday season, believe it or not, which is yet another trying time. And trust me, the news is going to continue to be troubling and burdensome. But none of us need to go through anything alone. We truly don't. This center has an incredible staff of prayer practitioners. Always, always, always available. I'm sure you have others in your world who are always available. But have you reached out to talk to them? Because a lot of times, I know for me, it's hard to reach out for encouragement, for support. So, if you don't have a tribe, even if it's a tribe of 2 that you can count on, reach out to one of our practitioners. Because it doesn't have to be a dire crisis for one to need some encouragement, to get some prayer support. You don't have to be on your last leg, as they say. So, who knew geese were so wise, huh? And let us not forget the most important blessing of all, and that's the blessing that we can always commune with Source. That higher power, that higher mind that is not out there, it is in here. When was the last time you had a really honest conversation with yourself in front of a mirror? Try it. It's really kind of amazing. Because those loving eyes looking back at you, those are the eyes of God. Think about it. Spirit is closer than our breath, more accessible than our cell phone. We just have to take a conscious breath, tap in, check in, and know how divine and how loving we are. So amazing that other people see it in us and we don't see it in us sometimes. But Spirit is right there, ready to say, yes, my beloved. Just let go and give me the space I need to do your heavy lifting. In the Bible, it says something to the effect of, your words are not my words. Your actions are not my actions. My burden is light. And I will take care of you better than I take care of the lilies of the field. And all we have to do is have the common sense of a goose. That's it. So your assignment this week. If you're flying solo, stop it. Let others in. Check your ego. Honk as much as you can, including at yourself. And look at the mirror, in the mirror, and just see those loving eyes saying, yes, my beloved. And so it is.